Welcome back to the Sydney Roosters Diehards. Welcome back to the Chook Chat. We're joined by the great Leaguey. He's with us, and we are here to discuss the Sydney Roosters season preview. I still can't believe that the footy's finally arrived, mate. Chooks are back this weekend, and we're here to discuss it. Leaguey. How we feeling, mate? How we feeling?
I'm feeling good. It feels in some ways, like it's been a very quick off season, despite the level of expectation that we've had around the big signings, the likes of DCE, Robson we'll get into. But I'm really, really looking forward to seeing the Bondi boys back this weekend. The first team, we've had some SG ball, but it's going to be very good to see. Hopefully some first grade players line up this weekend.
Yeah, 100%. And by the time this comes out, we'll have our team list out and we'll discuss it here on the Diehards, of course. I've just noticed a little thing in the bottom. Second Roosters, biggest Roosters fan on YouTube.
Well, the crown belongs to you, bro. It belongs to you. I'm a humble second place.
Humble second place, mate. I don't get invited on Bloke in a Bar. I don't get a podcast with the Roosters employees. So you're doing more things than me, mate.
Thank you, bro. Just to be clear for those watching, I wrote that, not Hainsey. It would be pretty diabolical if he labeled me only the second biggest fan. But no, that's all me.
Oh my god, mate. I know, it was so funny with my friend group when I first introduced you at that South game. But it was like, oh, he's a South fan with a green jacket. I was like, he's not a South fan. And
no, that was before I'd come out as well as a Roosters fan. But
yes, it was too. Yes,
it makes sense. I'm wearing green. There's green there, Yeah, but no, never be associated with the Rabbitohs.
I'll tell you what, I'll do you a deal. What I'll do. So if I get this box out, and I'll show you this. Right? So I'll just remove my green screen for a sec. All right. Okay. So if we make the grand final, if you have to wear that green jacket, you're wearing this on grand final day.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah.
You're wearing 100%. The Roosters tie.
100%. Dude, every day of the week.
Mate, Roosters player issue tie. I can't get it anywhere. You're wearing that on grand final day with that green suit if you're wearing that.
That's beautiful. I look brilliant. Let's make the grand final first, though. Let's not.
Of course. So obviously, we're here to discuss the season preview. We've got our notes sorted down, and look, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how exactly this is going to play out, but we're just going to go off the rough here and just have our opinions on a few topics and all that. So, what I'll do, we've got some stats from the previous season to go through, and then obviously the gains and losses, and then just have a general feel about the season ahead. So, I guess we'll start off with obviously last season with our stats. So we finished 8th with where were we? Where did we finish again? 8th. Yeah, that's where it started. We finished 8th with a full. So we finished 8th with 32 points, 13 wins and 11 losses. Obviously, the full season itself, 13 wins, 12 losses with that elimination final loss. With points scored 653, which is the 6th best in the competition. 521, which is about 9th in the competition. 8th, I think. 8th or 9th. Points conceded. Plus differential plus 132. Home wins, 6 wins, 6 losses. Away wins, 7 wins and 5 losses. And form at the back end of the season was 4 wins and 1 loss. So this is where I want to get interesting here. Completion rate. 16th in the competition with 75% completion rate on average. Errors, first in the competition with 293 errors last season. Penalties, 7th with 135 penalties. So actually a little bit lower than I expected. I thought it would be higher in the top 4 in that department. But going off those stats, Leaguey, I think we did well to get the finals last year.
It sounds pretty bang average when you put it all like that.
I think it's a fair result that we came 8th and out in week 1 with those stats.
I think it makes perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, I've always sort of said with not to blame it one particular player, but I think when you play a Sam Walker style, it's very sort of, pull the trigger, almost not quite all out attack, but, as soon as there's an opportunity, you go for it. And it will lead to errors. It will lead to low completion rate. So I think just that play style does lend itself to that stat. But then again, if we are looking to be winning, premierships, which is certainly the goal for this season, we need to be a hell of a lot better than that in the completion rate and error department. That's for sure. So big room for improvement there.
And I said this yesterday on the weekend wrap up, going through a bit of a match recap from the lower grades, the junior grades from Saturday. Harold Matts lost 32-10 to Penrith, and the story of that game was the Roosters couldn't complete whatsoever in that second half. And I said to myself, I was like, is this just like a whole cross the board thing with this club, where from first grade down to Harold Matts, our under 17s just can't hang on to the football?
Kind of feels like it, but I guess, like I say, it is nice to see attacking footy. At least it's entertaining from a fan's perspective. But the other side of that coin, when we talk about, say, the penalties, I think, pretty much the entire Trent Robinson era, we've always been one of the higher conceding teams when it comes to penalties. And we've sort of backed ourselves in the past to give away penalties and then defend our line, Bondi Wall style. Last year, we had that a little bit towards the back end of the season, but certainly to start the year, we conceded 50 points. It wasn't quite there. So one of the big focuses this season, they say defense wins premierships. We've got to lock that up if we want to still be giving away that amount of penalties.
100%. And I just seen an interesting stat here. Missed tackles. Where do you reckon the Roosters finished last year in the missed tackles department?
I wouldn't have thought all that high, to be honest. But now when you put it that way, maybe we have finished high.
16th with 672 missed tackles.
So that's second highest or second lowest?
Second lowest.
Right, okay.
Penrith had the most missed tackles last year with 960.
Wow.
But yeah,
that is shocking.
Yeah, that's very surprising. Considering that we conceded 50 points in round one last year, 672 missed tackles across 26 games, 25 games. That's pretty impressive.
Shout out our forwards. Yeah. I mean, they really did, I think, excel last year. A lot of the younger guys. And I guess it's good to see their fundamentals still being strong, coming through, not looking to necessarily just be explosive, but get the 1%ers, as Robbo says.
Well, I just calculated then we averaged 26.88 missed tackles a game.
Okay, yeah. But, I mean, with a rookie center in like Robert Toya, Billy Smith still not the most experienced player with all of his injuries. I think it's pretty decent to, have only missed that many.
Well, it's the second best average in the comp. St. George somehow had the most. St. George had the best ratio. Average.
That is very shocking.
Yeah, they had the least missed tackles out of anyone.
I mean, respect to Dragons fans, but I would not have been picking that one. That's for sure.
Oh, neither. I would have thought like the Broncos, or definitely not Penrith.
Yeah, I would have thought Penrith.
In the last 5 years, they made the most missed tackles. Bloody hell, that's just crazy, mate. Crazy, mate. Gains and losses coming up in this season. So obviously, we lost Sandon Smith. He's off to Newcastle. Chad Townsend retired. Zach Docker-Clay off to Manly. Ethan Roberts to the West Tigers. This one pains me the most. Xavier Va'a, he's gone over to the Super League. Ethan King at the Cowboys, and Tyler Moriarty has also gone to the Cowboys. While our gains, we have signed DCE from Manly, Reece Robson from the Cowboys, Cody Ramsey from the Dragons, and Tommy Talau from Manly. So, obviously, we've lost more than gain, and we still have no salary cap according to people. But, yeah, look, I got to say, though, out of all the players that we've lost last year, who do you reckon's the big one? And respectfully to those players, I don't think, we haven't lost a lot. I'd probably say maybe Sandon Smith out of those 7. But who do you reckon, and maybe Xavier Va'a, who do you reckon, is the biggest loss out of those 7?
Yeah, I'm relatively comfortable with the outgoings. I would agree that Sandon is the biggest loss, but then again, when we saw the likes of Hugo Savala coming through, Benai Uelu as well being sort of a competitor for that 14 spot, I don't think there really was a future for Sandon at the club, unfortunately. I think we're pretty well covered in the halves department. So, yeah, as I say, I'm comfortable with him being gone. I wish him all the best at Newcastle, but as I say, I think we've got that covered. I guess in terms of an off-field perspective, it'll be interesting to see the impact of Chad Townsend no longer being felt, but obviously we've got about 1 billion halves consultants in the club. Kronk works there, Kiri works there. And DC is obviously now also going to be that older voice. So we won't miss that, I think, too much either. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty comfortable. And I think we're it's sort of a sign that we've had so many young players come through and thrive, that we can have a year where we really don't miss that many people in the outgoing department.
Yeah, 100%. And in our gains department, we've recruited well, I think. Obviously, the talking point is Daly Cherry Evans, but the other one for me, that's the one that I've really intrigued in, is obviously Reece Robson from the Cowboys. And then we just, two quality backup depth signings in Cody Ramsey and Tommy Talau. I think we recruited well in the off season.
We've done so good. I mean, it's amazing that it's so understated. We've literally signed the New South Wales hooker. Like, I think that could only really happen to us, to be honest. DC's just taken all those headlines. But yeah, I think it's probably our best recruitment haul, without wanting to make comparisons, probably since 2018. I mean, Cronk and Tedesco are on a different level, don't get me wrong. But I do think that when you get a player of DC's legendary status and Robson's absolute reliability and very, very high quality out of dummy half, given that we're adding that to a side that's already growing and improving, we saw towards the back end of last year, the form was brilliant. It's a really, really exciting formula, great mix of youth and experience in that side. And I'm really, really happy with the way that our roster has come together for this year.
Yeah, it's all coming together, and we'll take a deep dive into our squad just as shortly. But we'll go on with the gains, of course. Tommy Talau and Cody Ramsey, what kind of role are we going to see them play this year? I do think that Cody Ramsey is the perfect person to be a part of our bench each week as that replacement in case of an outside back going down. And I think now with this rule change, I think that's definitely going to improve his chances. But what about Tommy Talau? Like, are we going to? I don't expect to see him play big minutes this year. I think he's just there in case of a Billy Smith and Rob Toyer unavailable. But is that the way you see it as well?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, admittedly, I sort of have yet to get my head around how benches are going to be structured for this season. But yeah, I mean, I think with 6 players there, you want someone that's versatile across all back 5 spots. Tommy Taylor probably isn't that. He can play wing and center, but I wouldn't back him as much at fullback. I think Ramsey could be, though, and that is exciting. But I think this sort of highlights something without outside back depth. I think it's an absolute strength of our roster that we've added in Talau and Ramsey, obviously, but already there we had Junior Ponga, who I think is probably the best backup outside back in the comp, and Junior Tupou, who we've seen had very, very high quality performances at the NRL level, particularly back in his days at the West Tigers. So I really back us in that department. And if, during the origin period, say Toya's playing for Queensland and Wangani Tuase is playing for New South Wales, I think we're very, very well stocked to fill in for those guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, look, I think it's going to be interesting as well, like, not to mention Tom Rodwell, who played last year. And look, I think the same thing, though, with Junior Tupou. Like, I know he did make his Roosters debut last year, and it was a Barry Crocker. It was a Michael Crocker. But, it's one game. You can't really judge a career at a club after one performance. So I know he'll get another crack in some capacity this year. So it's just sort of, he's young as well. So there's still time to develop him under our system and that. So it's not all doom and gloom with Junior Tupou. And I definitely, if he does get another crack, this year, I think he'll take it by the horns, and I think he'll definitely make his opportunities. But same thing, I saw Junior Ponga. I completely agree. Like, I just love seeing Junior Ponga play at the Roosters. He's another one where he's the you could even say he's the Orbo, the Mr. Reliable. He comes in and fills a job for us, not to the extent of Orbo, of course, but he could be the outside back Orbo, where he can come in and fill a job whenever he needs to at this when he's required on.
Just super, super reliable. As well, he's not that experienced necessarily at the NRL level, but he's played a lot of reserve grade throughout his career. He's an older guy, so that's just match experience. That I think he's really, really valuable. He's got a maturity as well. I love him so much. I agree with you. I mean, obviously, when he plays it does likely mean that someone else is injured, but I've never looked at Junior Ponga in one of our Team List Tuesdays and thought, oh no, it's Ponga. I'm like, yep, super reliable. I don't think we're going to lose that much quality in that position. So I love having him at the club.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the big question around there, I think our outside backs, our 1 to 5 is pretty set. Could you see like a Tommy Talau or like a Junior Ponga, maybe in these trial games push, put some pressure on a Billy Smith or a Rob Toyer? I can't see it personally. I think we're pretty set from 1 to 5. But could you see a world where Tommy Talau might be pushing his case for a starting spot in round 1?
To be honest, no, which is probably not the culture that you want at a club. You want positions to be up for grabs, and maybe internally that is the case. But I think Robert Toyer last year, he excelled expectations on so many levels. He's literally an origin player. Defensively, he was very, very high quality in my opinion. And I think he'll be a lot better this year. For instance, when we saw Latrell, his first season at center, back at the Roosters, was a lot worse, in my opinion, than his second. And I think we'll see a similar trajectory with Toyer. Then on the other side, Billy Smith, I mean, Robbo loves him so much. And you can understand why. A very, very solid player, a local junior, East through and through. So I would think it would have to probably take injury or, as I said, state of origin to one of those back 5 for the other guys to be available. But given that, I think it is really incredible we've been able to amass the depth that we have.
Yep, and it's always a good reinsurance as well, where if players are unavailable, we have guys there ready to grab their opportunity and do a job for us. And just to finish up on Junior Ponga there, like he reminds me of Matt Ikuvalu. Whenever he come on and played for us, when we had Tupou, Ferguson, Brett Morris not playing, one of them not playing, the Evoloo would come on, and I remember like 2020 when we played the Cowboys in Townsville. Who was ruled out late? Was it Brett Morris?
Yeah, Brett Morris was ruled out late, and so Ryan Hall, who was going to play on that wing, shifted to the other wing.
Yeah, and then Ikuvalu come on, played, and I think he scored, what was it, 4 or 5?
I think it was 5. I remember it as being 5.
I remember
Ryan Hall, who never got to try the NRL.
See, I miss these days, eh? Like, I miss not doing, like, I wasn't doing content as much as I was then, like, 5 years ago. I remember the Roosters played that day. It was a Thursday night. It was in Townsville. I was at the pub with my mates watching it, and I was like, mate, Evolu's going absolutely mad. But now I would have been, if that was the case now, I would have been here or at the game or doing content. But I do miss those days. But yes, like, very similar comparison in my opinion.
Well, we've always sort of had them. Robbo likes having a guy like that in his squad. And it's one of my favorite sort of genres of player, the backup outside back. As you say, Ikuvalu was a great shout. We had Kevin Nagama come in after that. It was very high quality for us in multiple games. We've always had really, really good guys.
Yeah, he was great. He had a solid stint in the club.
This year, I think we've got a lot more of them.
To extend Jackson Paulo at the start was pretty good. Like,
yeah,
good.
Absolutely.
Even years ago, like Matt Lodge at his time at the Roosters, like that 2022 season, he was outstanding.
Dude, I mean, shout out Corey Allen, like, that try he scored against Melbourne in the finals. Was it against Melbourne or was it against South? I think actually in the final round, it was the game to make the 8. I think Corey Allen scored.
And then he played. He did play in the semi-final.
Yeah,
but so we've
always
had
those guys.
Oh yeah, Robbo does as well, and that's what I love about having that squad depth. And I felt like we didn't really have it last year. Like there was always talk about like if Tedesco went down, who's going to play fullback? Was it Marky Mark? Or
that's arguably, I think, actually a point of discussion this year. We spoke about. I think it was pre-recording Rex Bathingthwaite, which I'm working on the pronunciation for.
Yeah,
it's a lot of letters. I think it's more than Nwangani Tuase.
Is it wrong with Marky Mark?
Yeah, it's amazing. He's obviously rated very highly within the club. I have yet to see him play at all, so I really can't cast judgment on him. But even now, like I think. If Teddy did go down, I'd probably be putting Mark at the back and chucking Junior Ponga on that wing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can see merit to that. We're moving to the halves department now. This is obviously going to be the big one, the big talking point. Is it a 3-way battle for the halves? Are we set with Sam Walker, DC and Sam Walker in the halves at 6, 7? No, not going there. 6, 7. Are we going to have Sam Walker at 6 or DC 7? Like, it feels to me that Sam Walker's the 7, DC's the 6. And I'll say this right now, that this could be what makes us or breaks us this year. If they can get this together early on, will set us up nicely. If we spend pretty much the entire year trying to work out whose team is it between DC and Sam Walker, it's going to create problems. How do you think this is all going to work out?
I agree completely that it will make us or break us. And I said all throughout the period where we were rumored to be signing DC, I'm like, I would rather support a club who takes a risk, who takes a gamble. Sometimes you do need to go for gold in order to win a premiership, and it might not work. You know, it could fail catastrophically. Who knows? But at its best, it will be pretty spectacular. I do unfortunately feel like history has shown it will take us a while to figure out exactly that playing style. You know, we had it in 2018, for instance, and it was a very slow start to the season. It worked out in the end. We got a minor premiership, although we were 2 points above 8th, which was crazy. But managed to make that work. And then the year after, it was, you know, smooth sailing almost. But in years since then, you know, when we've had Keary and Walker in the halves and it's been unclear, you know, who's the dominant player, I think we've really struggled with that for seasons, several seasons, and it's sort of scuppered our success. So I hope that this time is the exception and it's different, but it could just be, you know, something that we struggle with in terms of the coaching. But what I will say is I think DC coming to the club knows that it's Sam Walker's team, and I trust him to have the maturity to take a back seat. You know, he spent his entire career being the main man at Manly. So much expectation on him at Manly, and probably a forward pack that isn't as good as what we've got here at the Roosters. So I'm hoping he'll be able to just sit back in a better team and play a more simple role. But you're right, it will make us or break us for sure. Yeah,
and I think as well the way how DC has come in and, you know, how the club have spoken about DC since his arrival and how he has spoken. You know, obviously, and I've been really intrigued with this little Kokoda camp series that the Roosters have been putting out, and just hearing the way that DC's speaking, you just feel that, you know, sometimes change is the best thing for a person. You know, and, you know, let's say so DC's form hasn't been where it was in his final years at Manly, but you just feel his, you know, his body attitude and just the way he's speaking and he's fitting into the club really, really well. And, you know, sometimes a change is best for some people. And considering the fact that, you know, like I said, like from the whole deal with DCE being linked to us and when he signed and that, he is a guy with 350 plus games of experience. His knowledge of this game is going to benefit us. It's just, you know, there's still question marks. And I do like what you said, a risk. It is a risk. We're taking a punt on, a 37-year-old halfback who has got miles and miles of experience in this game. And, you know, if it works out, we'll be marketing geniuses. If it doesn't, you know, we'll know about it. But I think the signs are there because you can tell, you know, on how he's approached his time at the club so far and how well he's settled in and how his knowledge and experience has sort of just sprung across the whole group. Even Tedesco has said it. You know, he's learned a lot from DC since his arrival. So it's just now it's time to see it on field. And I think this week, next week, when they're out for the first time, we might see early glimpse of it. But like I said, I don't think we're going to see, you know, it's going to be rocks and diamonds with this halves combination. And I don't think we're going to see diamonds in the early stages of the season.
Yeah, no, I think it will take a while, but there's a few things you said there that I'd really like to touch on. Actually, you mentioned the Kokoda little docu-series that's going on. Roosters fans, if you haven't seen that, you definitely should. It's amazing. It's great content. But for a player like Cherry Evans to even be doing that, in my opinion, is a tremendous sign. Like within the four walls of the Roosters, he's got really nothing left to prove in terms of being an NRL player. He's 37 years old. I think if he chose not to go on that trip, no one would begrudge him. They'd be like, yep, you've proven yourself. Get ready for round one. But he's taken on one of the toughest physical challenges you can. just in order to prove, no, I'm not above anyone else. I'm coming in. I'm like the rest of you guys, and I'm willing to work hard with the rest of you guys. I think that's brilliant.
And I'm buying into the culture as well, what this club has said.
Exactly. Yep, exactly that. So that really does excite me. The other thing, you rightly mentioned the I guess downturn in his form, particularly last season. We have to remember he was still picked in Origin 1. I know he didn't have the best performance, but he was still playing at an Origin level, at least in Clubland. But in my opinion, he was behind one of the worst forward packs in the comp, in my opinion, and like that, it's a more testament to how good everyone else's forward pack is. But aside from Hamole Olakawatu, maybe Taniela Paseka, I think the likes of Jake Travojevic, that the output is very much down. The other back rowers are okay, but I think they're relying on a lot of veterans. I reckon truly behind a premier forward pack at the Roosters, we're going to see a much freer DCE, and I think it's really going to have an impact.
Yeah, and I'm really excited as well. Like, you mentioned as well, like he's got a great forward pack behind him as well. So, and we're not. Here's the thing: we're not. So if the game's on the line, we're down by a try. I don't think we're going the DCs. Like, hey, pull something out of your hat. He's the game manager. He's the guy to get us in these positions. And Sam Walker, I think that's where this combo is going to work well. And I think the combo with Hugo and Sam Walker was perfect. Hugo just did his specific role. Sam Walker was the guy that was creating the unorthodox plays, and he was the one that was finding points for us. Hugo is our guy to steer us around the park. DC is going to be that guy. I don't think their play styles are completely different, and I think that is what's going to work. I think as well with Luke Keary and Sam Walker, yes, they were both dominant halves. Same thing with DC and Sam Walker. I just feel that once we decided that it was Sam Walker's team, not Luke Keary's, that's when we turned the corner. And I think if that we've established it early that Sam Walker, that's his team, and DC works around him, and DC is the guy that steers us around the park. And when the game, if we're ahead of the game, he's the guy to be the cool, calm collective and get us home, get us win games. Because let's face it, last year there was so many opportunities last year where against the top teams that we were in that game through within, like we were in those games. We were up to it through our eyeballs with that. I forgot the saying. You know what I'm trying to say there. But
yep,
we were in those games to win, and we faded out in the last 15 minutes. And then there were so many occasions last year where we walked out of Allianz or wherever we were, and like, how did we lose that? And I think we're not going to see it as much. There might be times where we do, but not to the extent of last year, because we have a guy like Daly Cherry Evans who knows the example and knows how to get it done when the game is there to be won.
Yeah, well, a prime example of that, look at the elimination final against Cronulla. In my opinion, like after watching that game, I couldn't believe we had lost it. You look at moments like the try they scored just on the brink of halftime, I believe it was. We tried some play down the left-hand side, didn't work. They ended up getting a try off an intercept. Stuff like that, I feel that the maturity of a Cherry Evans on the field would have calmed things down a lot more. And in finals games, that's exactly what you want. If we win that game, week after here in Canberra, I don't think we would have struggled all that much given the way the Raiders played. So already, like that's yes, it's hypothetical, but I think we're looking at the impact of a player who could carry us deep into the finals, which is where we are aiming to be.
Yep, 100%. Look, I've even spoken to Trent Robinson before about this. I remember this was a couple of years ago. I asked him about at a captain's run in Brisbane. I just asked him. It's actually on my channel. Go on if you want to go check it out. I sort of vlogged the 2022 captain's run in Brisbane. I asked Robbo in the vlog, and I asked him, I was like, "How's the season going?" And then all that kind of stuff. And he said it's about building a season, building the foundations for a season. And after he said that to me, and I've sort of analyzed Roosters seasons in the past, I was like, I see what he meant. It's about timing it perfectly to win a title. You're not winning competitions in February. You're not winning premierships in March. You got to build foundations to win a premiership in October, not to win it in February and March. So it can go a long way to winning a premiership. And I think preseason, obviously coming up this weekend with our first trial game and that can see the signs of what we are trying to build. But like I said, like if we are, we haven't, and I know what the headlines are going to be. I know the headlines are going to be, just say come round 8, 4 wins, 4 losses, or 5 wins, 3 losses. Oh, the Roosters are the not really exceeding. Or is DC and Sam Walker, are they working? We just got to be patient because I think when the whips are cracking, that's when we're going to see this combination at its best.
That's going to be the test of us because I would predict that we're going to be, I don't know, around a 4-4. The outside noise will absolutely come. We know the media love the opportunity to tear the Roosters down whenever it's there. It always does very, very well for them. So it's on the likes of DCE, Walker, Tedesco, the senior figures at the club, to make sure that outside noise doesn't get into the playing group. We focus on our season that we're building without the external pressure.
Yep, 100%. All right, so I think not much to talk about Sam Walker. Sam Walker, his game. I don't think that will change a lot. I think as well, having, a Hugo Savala still around, he can be that fill-in. Could we see Sam Walker be in around that origin setup for Queensland this year?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I thought for so long that he was sort of the heir apparent in terms of the halfback jersey in Queensland. I thought he'd succeed DC. We've seen Tom Dearden come along so well, and I think Dearden will probably get that halfback jersey. But I definitely see a world where in a few years, Cameron Munster retires from Origin, and we have but Queensland have a Dearden and Walker Haas partnership. I think it's pretty much those two and Ezra Mam who are vying for those 2 spots.
Yep, I agree. He'll be around there for sure in the next year or 2. We don't really need to touch much on Tedesco. Teddy, another year ahead, reigning Dally M medalist. I think it's about to be another standard season for Tedesco. I think it's going to be another standard season for Tupou. Is this his final year, though? Could this, what do you reckon? I spoke about this the other week or 2 about, what he's able to achieve this year. He's able to be the most capped Roosters player of all time at the 300 club and potentially reach the 200 try scorer club. So, but it all depends on him. But where do you reckon we see with Tupou? Is this his final year, or do you reckon we have another one in him?
I would expect this to be his final year. I mean, I have absolutely no inside information on that. Sorry, you disappeared for a second. Yeah, I have absolutely no inside information, but certainly he's getting on in the years. That said, look, we've seen the likes of Brett Morris still be winning premierships, well into his 30s. And in my opinion, Tupou was as solid as ever. He's not showing any signs of slowing down. I think he's done enough for the club that if he, comes to us midway through the year and goes, I want a 1-year extension, I want to give it to him. I think he's earned that. But then again, but I think at the same time, he is such a loyal club servant that I think if he does have any doubts, he wouldn't still be trying to get that contract. I think he'd be pretty open and honest. The relationship between him and the team is very, very good. But there's a number of players this year. We sort of had our last dance season a couple of years ago. The likes of Tupou, Angus Crichton. There's a couple of those guys who could be departing at the end of the year. So it gives us something to play for, certainly, to farewell those guys.
I actually said that tonight on the Diehards on the news roundup. I did say that, like, with Marky Mark coming out today saying, where he's off to next year. Officially, he's off to Japanese rugby side. Panasonic Wild Knights. So, and obviously he spoke about his final season. He wants to leave this place with a premiership. And I did mention, though, that we were in this position 2 years ago with Manu, Suoliti, Jay, WH, Luke Keary. We had an opportunity to send these guys off with a premiership. It didn't work out the way we wanted, but I feel like that we learned a lot from that 2024 season. And we get another roll of the dice with, maybe a Tupou retiring this year. Angus Crichton, Marky Mark are leaving. And then the year after, maybe a Tedesco or Tupou. So we have a couple more opportunities to right the wrong of departing players and get it right this year. Like you said, we have something to play for. We have a squad to win this premiership. We have the talent. and we have the motivation to do so. It's just getting it done. That's been our biggest hurdle. And I give the club benefit of the doubt the last couple of years with, 2020 injuries, 21 injuries, 22. I'm not as lenient as I was because, 2022 was a letdown. 2023 was also a letdown in terms of, still grateful we made finals and that. 2024, great year in my opinion. Unfortunately, losing Sam Walker and Brandon Smith a week out from finals just derailed our season, but we did well to get to a prelim final. Last year, I thought pass mark for sure. The way that we in a rebuild, not a rebuild, but a transition type of year, we got to week one of the finals. I thought it was a good achievement. Did left us wanting more, gone away with the way it ended. But this year, there's no excuses. We need to be in the premiership business. Whereas I have said in the past, I think Robbo, he needs this as well. He needs to put the doubters to rest a little bit with a solid season where we're competing for a title, where we're on. If we don't win it, sure. If we're in a prelim / at least minimum for me, there on grand final day, I think that sort of eliminates some of the outside noise.
Yeah, I'm not really content with this season unless we make a grand final. And I think that'll be the general perception. If we don't make the grand final, I think there'll be a lot of valid media criticism saying, look, Robbo had this brilliant side and still couldn't get them there. This is sort of thinking ahead in a few years. But, okay, last cup we won was in 2019. It's now 2026. Given that, as you rightly say, there's a number of players leaving. We've got, probably 2 more years of Tedesco, 3 at a stretch. Cherry Evans, obviously, right towards the end of his career. After this little crop retires, we could be, again, back in a rebuild. We could very quickly get to a 2029 and it'd be 10 seasons since the Roosters have won a premiership, which is not really acceptable, like for us in this era of our club, at least.
This era, yeah.
I think that it's such a key year in terms of Robbo's legacy at the Roosters. Granted, look, I don't think he's under that much pressure. I don't think there's any better coaches out there, and I think he did a tremendous job last season. But in years to come, this could be a real turning point.
Yep, for sure. And I'm not hinting anything. And I know that the relationship between the club and Robbo is as strong as it gets. But, when is it the point to say, are we content with finals footy and not winning premiership? Because when you said it, 2019, 7 years ago, and that doesn't – and that, man, that's gone so quick. I remember yesterday that we won the premiership in 19, but it's been 7 years since we last won a comp. That's very unheard of in this Roosters era, like you mentioned. But I don't think there's any pressure on Robbo internally, but I know from the outside perspective, there is going to be a lot of outside noise if it's another underwhelming season.
Well, and it's so important as well in terms of, the Roosters have this kind of aura of always getting their man. We get the big signings. If we go 10 years without a premiership, we're going to struggle to do that. Put it that way. I mean, in recent weeks, I feel we were in the race for Tino. He recommitted to the Titans. Payne Haas was a guy we've been sort of on and off interested in. He's now going to South Sydney. Those are 2 big guys who I feel Roosters sides of the past would have very much been in the race for, and we've missed out on both.
See, honestly, I don't think we'll ever interested in Payne Haas, if I'm being honest with you. I think we're pretty content with how our forward pack is at the moment.
Interesting.
That's just me.
I don't know. I mean, I'm vibing it, but I think we were certainly interested in Tino at least.
Yeah, I agree. Tino, yep, for sure. But I remember I got someone messaged me on the Diehards about, you're just jealous that we got Payne Haas, and it's like, mate, I don't think we even thought about getting Payne Haas because we are happy with who we have, and we're about to get into the forwards very, very shortly. But I just generally think that we're content with our, with the Fahu Whites and Spencer and Lindsay and the forwards coming through. So that's just me personally, anyway.
Well, happy to get into the forwards. I'm really excited in terms of signings years gone by, like
the engine room.
We do with but what we do with the Crichton money, the Tedesco money soon. I think it's very, very important for the future of the club to land a big fish or 2.
Yep, I agree. But I see a world where 2027 we're going to have Siwa Wong and Victor Radley on the edge. If that's just me.
I agree. No, I think that could definitely be true.
And Hugo's going to be our 13, or Connor Watson. I reckon them two are going to be our 13 options going forward. But okay, the forward pack, always one of the best in the competition. I think last year we got to see the unveiling of these stars and their breakout seasons, in particular Nafahu White. And I have come on here over the last couple of months and I've said Nafahu White will be, in the next 3 years, the best front rower in the competition. I'm ready to say that. And I believe that. The way that he approached, or the way he conducted last year, I've said it on here so many times, the way the club went their business, let go Terrell. Oh, that's another one, Terrell. Maybe you couldn't even say that last year, but Terrell May, big, the next big thing you could say at the club. We let him go. He goes to the West Tigers, and a lot of people were questioning it. And then you see a season where Nafahu White absolutely took control of this forward pack and was probably arguably up there with Tedesco as our best player last year. And you can see that the Roosters have made a decision backing Nafahu White, and it paid dividends. And I think he's going to go from strength to strength. And I'm really excited in a World Cup year as well for New Zealand that this could be, a generational season for Nafahu White.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've seen some people say that the Roosters have the number one forward pack in the competition. That's not an opinion that I hold. But I think we're top there. 4 at least. Yeah. But that ranking does very much depend on Nafahu White continuing on this trajectory. I said it a few times, Jared was obviously the man at